Okay, you've definitely heard of this, right? Manifestation. The idea that you can literally think your goals into reality. But is that just wishful thinking, or is there something real, some kind of mechanism, actually at play? Well, today, we are going to break down the mechanics of manifestation.
What you think about, you bring about. I mean, that's the core promise, isn't it? It sounds incredible, but how is that supposed to work? Is it some kind of cosmic law, or is it maybe all in our heads? Let's get into it.
So, before we jump into the how, let's make sure we're all on the same page about the what. What do people really mean when they're talking about manifestation?
According to its biggest proponents, manifestation isn't just daydreaming. Nope, it's the powerful idea that your inner world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your deep down feelings, that's the blueprint for your outer reality. In other words, if you're constantly focused on what you don't have, well, that's exactly what you'll keep seeing around you.
Okay, so that's the basic idea. But what's the supposed engine behind all this? Let's take a look at the core theory that's said to power the whole process. It all comes down to something called the law of attraction. You've probably heard of this one. It's often talked about like it's a fundamental law of the universe, just like gravity. And this law is supposedly what makes manifestation work. So the theory basically goes like this. Everything, the universe, you, me, and even your thoughts, it's all just energy, vibrating at different frequencies. And the main rule of the game is that like attracts like. So if you have positive thoughts, which are considered high vibrations, you'll attract positive things into your life. And you guessed it, negative thoughts, or low vibrations, will attract negative outcomes. So this leads to the ultimate goal, which is vibrational alignment. The idea here is that you have to match your own personal energy, your frequency, to the frequency of the thing you want. You have to feel the way you would feel if you already had that dream job or that relationship, right now.
All right, so that's the theory. But how do you actually do it? How do people put this into practice? Well, there's a pretty common four-step process that a lot of people follow. First, you have to set a super clear intention. Second, you visualize it. You see it in your mind's eye like it's already done. Third, and this is huge, you embody the feeling of having it. And last, and please don't forget this part, you have to take inspired action. You don't just sit on the couch, you act on the opportunities that start showing up. And that first step, setting a clear intention, is absolutely crucial. A vague wish like, I want more money, it's just too fuzzy. Your brain doesn't know what to do with that. But something specific, like, I will have $10,000 in my savings account by June 30th. Now, that gives your mind a crystal clear target to lock onto. Okay, all this talk about vibrations and cosmic energy, it can start to sound a little bit like magic, right? But here's where things get really interesting. What if there's a scientific reason why these practices actually seem to work? What if it's less about the universe and more about your brain? This is where modern neuroscience steps into the picture, because it turns out there's a very real system hardwired into your brain that might just explain the mechanics of manifestation. So on one hand, you have the magic, the law of attraction, and on the other, you have the mechanics, a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS for short.
So what on earth is the RAS? Well, think of it like a bouncer at the velvet rope of your consciousness. It's a bundle of nerves at your brainstem that filters all the information coming in from your senses, and it decides what's important enough to get your conscious attention. And to get why this filter is so critical, check this out. Your senses are being hit with about 11 million bits of information every single second. But your conscious mind, it can only process about 50 of those bits. The RAS is what decides which 50 make the cut.
And here's the connection. When you set a clear, specific intention, you are essentially programming your RAS. You're telling it, hey, this is what's important to me right now. Pay attention to this. It's exactly like when you decide you want to buy a blue car, and then suddenly you see blue cars everywhere. They were always there, but now your RAS is highlighting them for you.
And it's not just the RAS doing the heavy lifting. You've also got things like confirmation bias, which makes you notice stuff that confirms what you already believe. Visualization acts as a primer, getting your brain ready to spot opportunities. And decades of goal-setting theory have proven that specific, clear goals just flat out lead to better results. All of these well-established principles totally align with the steps of manifestation.
So, what are we looking at here? We've got two very different explanations for the same phenomenon. One's metaphysical, the other is psychological. So how do they really stack up?
Let's look at this side by side. The metaphysical view talks about vibrational alignment to attract things to you. The psychological view talks about selective attention, your RAS, to help you perceive things that are already there. But look closely. Do you see the common thread? Both of them, at their core, start with directing your focus.
And that really brings us to the main takeaway here. Whether you want to call it vibrational alignment or selective attention, it doesn't really matter. The underlying mechanism is the same. You are consciously, deliberately, directing your focus and your intention toward a specific outcome.
So in the end, the real question isn't whether or not this stuff works. The question is, knowing that you have this incredible filter in your mind that is actively shaping your reality every second, what are you going to program your filter to find?